Society says you have to have a dream job, but is that true? Let's get into it. Society says a lot of shit. But is it the truth? Is it far from the truth? Or do we even care? Let's chat about it. This is Society Says with your favorite host, Mariah Condon. So for my first episode, I'm going to get a little personal with you guys because I've received countless messages surrounding my recent departure from news, like, where you at, girl? Where you going? Do you even have a job? Where do you even live? We're going to get into that, and all the questions will be answered in today's episode. So my dream job was to be a news anchor. I grew up watching the news. My dad loved the news. He still does. And I would literally wake up at like 5:30 in the morning in like middle school and high school and just turn on the news. Girl, the bus didn't come until 7:45. Relax. But that was a part of my daily routine. I just loved the news, and I knew from a very early age that I wanted to be a journalist. So, of course, I went to college. I majored in broadcast journalism with a minor in social justice at the one and only University of Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner, okay? And I felt like I got the best experience there. I feel like OU has one of the best journalism programs in the country. I may be biased, I may not, but I definitely felt really prepared for my dream career. Upon graduation, I had a job offer already. I had already had it signed, sealed, and delivered. And within a month, I moved to Tyler, Texas. Yes, good old East Texas. And never went there, just didn't even know anything about it. But I knew I wanted to be in Texas, and it was with the company that I wanted to work for, and I just felt really good about my decision. So I started off there as a MSJ, which, if I use that term, it's multi-skilled journalist, which is the same as an MMJ. And for those that don't know anything about news, it's the one-man bands that you guys see. It's the person who does the interviews, shoots it, does it, they edit their own stories. Basically hell, okay? And I knew that in college. It just sounded like a scam to me. Like, why am I doing three people's jobs for the price of barely one, okay? But I knew it was a stepping stone for what I really wanted to be, which was a news anchor. And so I was an MSJ. I think I made the most of it. I just decided, give it all I got. And it paid off. Within like 6 to 7 months, I got promoted to the weekend anchor, which was fine because I was already working weekends as the MSJ. So I figured, why not do it as the anchor and have 2 less days of being a one-man band? So I was like, hell yeah. So I took the job and I loved it. It was fun. I worked with a great crew, and I got to learn and grow so much as a journalist, as a producer, as an anchor. And within a year later, I received the promotion of my dreams. I became the morning show's co-anchor, and I absolutely loved it. I was 23, so I feel like, what, I was doing the damn thing, okay? I was doing the damn thing. I'm not, whatever. But I was so excited, and, unfortunately, things quickly shifted with my dream. It was everything I hoped for, and then within 3 days, it kind of started to shift for me in a lot of ways. I was dealing with newsroom drama, which I hadn't dealt with before. I was going through personal life stuff, and it just became really overwhelming for me. And I feel like, if you don't know me leaving news is like a huge shock, right? I think people who actually do know me and actually did check in on me would know that this was not a surprise, because I went through a lot my last 2 years at my previous station. It was really difficult. It was physically demanding. I'm waking up at 2:30 in the morning to go to work, going to bed at 7 p.m. Like, that's just not good for your body. And I also just went through a lot in my personal life. I lost 3 grandparents during my time there. And one of them, my closest grandparent, I found out at work, and it was really difficult because for a really long time, it was like every single time I'd walk into the newsroom, I would just picture that moment where I found out my grandma had passed away. And oh, Jesus, I'm not gonna cry. But I think with everything I had going on, like my family life, certain friendships, just the stress of just being in news, it's really difficult when you're like struggling mentally and being on a morning show, morning news in particular, because it's, it's bubbly, it's fun, it's like, hey, good morning. And it's hard when you don't feel that way, but you have to like fake it. And, you know, I think my last like 6 to 8 months at my last job, I was really depressed, like in therapy, and just feeling confused about where I was in life, not being fulfilled anymore at this job that I was in, just going through just a lot of shit in my personal life. And there would be so many times where I would literally go to work and I'd have like swollen eyes from crying myself to sleep the night before. And this happened all the time, but you would never know because I put on makeup and I do my hair and I have on this cute outfit and I'm, bubbly, and because I have to be. You have to turn it on. Like, I took so much responsibility, like personal responsibility, for people trusting me to wake them up in the morning and be this, funny, bubbly personality. And I loved when viewers would reach out and send me messages and, thank me for like, being so funny and waking them and their families up, that I didn't want to put my BS on them. But that does something, I think, to your mental. It doesn't compute. And also it's hard for other people to see when you're struggling, because I feel like if you only keep up with me on my news accounts, then you're like, oh, she's fine. And it's like, bitch, that's my job. Like, do you think I'm just going on air like no, I can't do that. So, it was a lot. And there was also just a lot of changes going on in the news industry. By the time my contract ended, I felt like I was in a rut. Like, it was like, it couldn't get any worse. Like, I was already depressed. Like, what is worse than depressed? Like, I don't know. Because at the time that I started looking for jobs, still in news, because I wasn't 100% certain that I was going to leave at the time, there were mass layoffs in the news industry. So not only am I just competing, with people that I would normally be competing with, I'm competing against people who have been in the industry for like 15 years. And I was also very particular about what my next news job would be like. Because it's like, I'm already working for Dreams and Peanuts, okay? I got to actually make a living doing this. Because on top of just the stress of news, I don't think people realize how little we make. So financially, mentally, emotionally, physically, burnt the fuck out. And I needed to make money. The hardest thing I ever had to do, though, I actually had a job offer a week before my last day on air. And I was scared because I didn't know what to do. I wasn't completely in love with the job market. But it was a great job. It was something that I could see myself doing. But the pay, baby, the pay, ridiculous. And I was trying to negotiate, and the news director was being very strict, very rigid, and I felt like I was pent up against a wall because I had to break my lease on top of, perhaps moving to a different state. And, in news, again, you're working for peanuts, so it's not like we have a savings. Savings who? Okay, we don't know her. We don't know who Savings is. And I was like, okay, I should take the job because I need the money, I can't be without a job. And I felt like when I initially got the job offer, at first I was like, God, I feel like this is him showing me that like there's a light, because I was struggling with like not hearing back. And then when I got the job offer, I felt like God was telling me, okay, now that you got that, think bigger. And ultimately, I decided to walk away, which was really difficult because when people leave a news station, they want to leave with a job. They want to be able to like brag about, oh yeah, this is where I'm going next, and like this is where you guys can keep up with me. No one wants to leave a job in news without having one lined up. And of course, people always have questions. Where are you going? And you're like, I don't know. It's just so annoying. But yeah, I decided to walk away, and that was really hard for me. I want to say by like mid-February is when I finally decided to think about what life would be like outside of news. I had a couple friends who also left the industry and they were thriving. And so I was like, well, maybe I could consider it. So I started applying for jobs outside of news. And the one thing that really made me excited was bringing back my podcast. And I'll get into that. But yeah, like, you can't have a podcast when you're news, because they own you. They literally own your name, image, and likeness. And you can have one, but it has to align with the values of the brand of the station you're at. And it just, what my podcast was wouldn't have been what it would have been if I did do it in news. And so it just would have removed all the authenticity of it. So yeah, by March 1st, I had to move out of my apartment and I had to move in with my aunt and my uncle. So I was unemployed. I didn't have a house. And I just felt like, damn, it's like I felt like I kept hitting rock bottom and then there'd be a rock would fall and I would stumble just a little bit further. And I was just like, how did I get here? You know, it's really difficult when you feel like you're taught at a young age, like if you work hard, you know, things are going to work out for you. And then you do everything right. And like, then you're in a situation where things like don't work out for you, or what you thought you wanted might not be what you really want anymore. And so I just started questioning a lot of things, but just trying to trust that this is like where I'm supposed to be and like I'm going to figure things out. And then I knew I wanted to rebrand my podcast, so I didn't know what I wanted it to be. For those who are OGs, you know about the In My 20s podcast, okay? But I knew I wanted to rebrand it to make it where anybody of any age, any gender, any whatever, okay? I started thinking about that Rihanna meme where she's like, all the gender appropriations, and it's for everybody, okay? Everybody can listen. Everybody can wear those draws, Rihanna. So, my aunt, who I was staying with, she had an extra massage appointment, and she offered it to me literally within 5 minutes of me being on that motherfucking table. Okay, relaxed, mind on blank. Okay, it hit me, the name, the concept, you know, episodes. I think like 11 episodes hit me, and I was just like, this is it. Like, this is what I'm meant to do, and I'm so excited. So that hit me, and then maybe like a week later, I started getting interviews for these jobs outside of news, and I was like really excited about them and the idea of like life outside of news, and I got a job offer. So I have had a job for about 2 months now, actually 2 months to the day, and I've loved every single second of it. It's different than news, but the similarities allow me to like still be a storyteller in a different way and still be creative, which I absolutely love. And it's even more corporate. So like I have structure. I don't, I'm not overworked and underpaid. And it's nice. Like I feel like my body is still adjusting to like, oh, this is like, oh, people don't have to work for every single second. Like, oh, people don't have to earn every motherfucking dollar. Okay. Cause in news, they will work you to death. Okay. They'll work you to the ground, honey. And then some. It's like, oh, I have a week to do this. Like, oh, because in news you have, daily deadlines and you have to, I actually have like holidays off. Like, girl, I can't remember the last time I was off on what? Juneteenth. Thanksgiving. Like, it's MLK. I've just never had holidays, and you sacrifice so much to be in news. It's crazy. But I loved it. And I loved the people that I met, the people that I worked with. They definitely made my time in news, everything and more. But I believed that I achieved the dream that I wanted, and I'm happy about that. And that's why I have so much peace about walking away and doing something new. Because I realized that, like, low-key, having a dream job is kind of a scam. I'm an Aquarius, so everything is capitalism, okay? Like, why are we telling 4-year-olds that they need to have a dream job? Like, sometimes, and what I've realized is that most people don't actually love their job, and it's not their dream job, but it's the job that allows them to live their dream, which if that's traveling, if it's, shopping, having financial security. And I feel like this is that where I'm at right now, where I'm like, okay, my job may not excite me all the time, but it affords me the opportunity to have the thrills in other areas of my life that I couldn't have in news. Like I couldn't afford to travel all the time. Even just like going to my friend's city, like that was taxing. So it affords me the dream life. And that's what I believe. I don't believe that necessarily every single person has a dream job. Some people just work to live. Some people live to work. And I feel like in news, especially with all the shifts and changes that are happening recently, I mean, I could just go on and on and on about the craziness of news. You almost have to like be a workaholic to still be in that industry. And I'm just not. I'm just not. But yeah, I'm really excited about what's to come with Society Says. Things are a lot different now, okay? Like, I had a podcast in college. All I needed to buy was a cheap ass mic off Amazon. Plug it into my MacBook that was as old as a dinosaur. I mean, any big file, my computer probably would have combusted. So, it's different now. I don't even watch podcast video form, so I'm doing this for y'all. So y'all better love all of this because this is an investment, but I'm happy to do it. I'm happy. I feel like I'm aligned in my purpose. I don't know what to expect, but I feel like God really planted a seed in me with this. And when you feel that way, you have to act on it, and all it can do is flourish. So another question that I've received a lot is, do I miss news? And honestly, no, I haven't. And I think that speaks volume to like maybe that just wasn't for me anymore. Because you would think I should miss it, right? But it's almost like when I'd have those little tiny moments where I like miss it, I'm instantly reminded of all the reasons why I did not like news. The lack of work-life balance, the pay, the pay. Hear me when I say the pay, being isolated from friends and family. I was in a random town, like a random small town. I didn't know anybody. I'm 26. Like, I want to live my life. And it just was a lot of pressure to be perfect all the time. So I'm gracefully bowing out. And who knows, maybe one day I'll go back and I'll miss it. And maybe I won't, but I think the news industry has a lot of growth to do, or people are just going to keep leaving. And it's sad because I think a lot of people like myself aren't leaving because they necessarily don't want to be in it, but they kind of feel like they're forced because the circumstances and the situation itself is just not aligning with having a fucking life. While I have zero regrets about my time being in news, I loved it. I grew so much as a person and as a journalist. Leaving wasn't the end for me. It was just the beginning. It has felt so freeing to be able to realign myself with my new purpose. You don't have to stick to one dream in life. You can have many dreams throughout your life because we grow and change as people. Like who I was when I was 8 with this dream isn't who I am at 26 with that same dream. But yeah, I think in short, not everyone needs to have a dream job. Some people seek their fulfillment outside of work, and their job just allows them the opportunity to do that, whether that's financially, whether that's having a work-life balance. And I think that's where I am in this next chapter of my life, and I love it. It feels like so much of a weight has been lifted off my shoulder. I can be myself unapologetically. It doesn't make me a quitter. I feel like I just chose myself, and I found so much peace in doing so. I've been able to live my life and have new experiences and make a lot more money. If anyone is considering, the fears of maybe leaving behind what they thought they wanted, just know that you're definitely not alone. I know so many people who have made the shift. I would rather have left now than be in the industry for 20 more years and hating it. I feel like that's the best thing about these younger generations. We're not afraid to walk away. Who gonna be at a job for 30 years? Not me. Because I feel like life is all about growing and evolving and becoming a new version of yourself and constantly relearning who you are as a person. Maybe I just want to be a hot Pilates mom. Dallas. And so I'm really excited to be in Dallas. I really have always felt, it's so crazy. Every time I would visit Dallas, I would feel like this is where I'm supposed to be in the next chapter of my life. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but for the time being, I love it here. What's good, Dallas? What's good? Shout out to Dallas, my bitches and stuff. So the earlier you can leave and learn new skills and take those other skills with you, the better. And I still get to use these skills, you know? I still get to tell stories. You know, back in the day, you really didn't have to have guests. People actually just gave a fuck about you. But we'll have guests. And I have to use those interview skills. And you know what? Not everybody can interview. No shade. No shade, but sometimes as a journalist, it can be hard listening to some podcasts because it's just like, you don't know how to interview, do you? So moving forward, this is what you guys can expect on Society Says. Like I said, Society, she just be running her mouth, don't she? She has a lot to say about a lot of things, social, political issues, hot topics, pop culture. We're going to be having Society, honey. And just having some real, raw, unfiltered conversations, which is what I missed about news was, I mean, you have to keep going. You can't linger on a story for too long. And it's like sometimes people just want to unpack, you know, and this is what we're going to unpack, honey. Okay. I'm super excited. If you guys have any questions surrounding anything about my news experience, feel free to comment them under the Instagram account for the pod, or you can just shoot me a DM, whatever it takes. Maybe we could do a Q&A of life behind the camera, you know, the real, raw, and the unfiltered. If there was anything that I missed, or you guys are just genuinely curious, I could do a part 2 on this. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the very first episode of the rebrand Society Says. I am so excited for what's to come. Y'all ain't ready. So you might as well subscribe and follow this podcast on all platforms so you never miss another episode. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you again in the next one.